Jeff Wilkins, yeah.
That's actually sent to
Okay. Yeah, you could probably get one for like probably two and a half.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
haggle. You know, if you want to get a pristine one, you get $300 for one. A guy wanted to sell one to me. It looked like it was on the water for a while. I think it was Rod or Mike. Rod had one. Yeah, and finally when I saw it was pitted, the aluminum was big knob with it. Yeah. And I got the manual from there's a guy in Sayreville, Markovich. He sells random manuals. So I got the random manual for it. I haven't worked on it yet. I plugged it in, it works, makes noise. So I'm sure it could be killed. I changed my mind.
Look at the copper lining. I get the power supply.
Here's the proud owner, or owners.
You know, it wouldn't have occurred to me to build it out of wood with the copper.
Well, I guess wood's easy to work with.
Well,
Yeah.
up to this
soft.
point in time, they didn't have metal cabins.
Yeah,
Metal cabins
was
were
tricky.
This project came about years ago in my mind. I'd pick up a piece at a hamfest, see somebody would give me something, I'd stick it away, and someday I'm going to have a little museum, I'm going to have a collection. And a few years ago, I visited a friend of mine, has a ham shack in the cellar, and he had about 40 radios. He had them piled on top of each other, but in a pretty neat and orderly manner. And it was really nice to sit there and look at all the radios at one time. And I'm thinking, well, I got all these radios, but I'm not enjoying it. So my son's pretty handy with woodwork, so I got him to help me with some shelving, and we put some shelves up in my little radio area that I share with a washer and a dryer. And so I started putting radios out there, and that worked for a while. But I had some empty spaces, so then I went and found some more radios, and then I ended up with more radios than I had spaces. So, you know, I just wanted to do something, and I thought, well, maybe I'll find a building or something like that will happen. One of my neighbors is in the Historical Society, and she's talking about getting a building for the township and having a museum, and I thought, well, that'll be great. But that didn't happen. And in the meantime, grandchildren got bigger, and I had to move the radios where they can't get to them. I was fumbling around and nothing was happening. So 2 summers ago, or last summer actually, I bought a huge estate of amateur radio equipment. And I'm fishing for ideas, you know, and I couldn't take a whole lot of it because I didn't have enough room. So I was selling some of it, swapping some of it, keeping some of it. And the attic is full. My neighbor let me use her barn, and she told me I could stay within this one area. Well, I actually started going further out. Still wasn't enjoying it as much as I'd like to. So last summer we talked about the idea. My brother got an RV. That's how this part got started. And he doesn't have a lot of extra money. And I said to him, well, how can you afford auto insurance for an extra vehicle? He says, oh, RV insurance is only a couple $100 a year, which in New Jersey it's really cheap. So I looked into it and found out that he was right. They figure that the RVs are big, they don't travel as many miles, you're not supposed to use them for community work, but it's very, very economical. So then I found somebody that thought they might want to get rid of an RV, and had a bedroom in it, and a bathroom, and a kitchen, and I would have to tear all that out. And my brother told me, well, if you do that, then the sides of the RV will flop when you get down the road because that's all part of the strength of the unit. So that was that. Well, Pete Grave, you've probably seen him at some of the radio meetings. He has this great big white vehicle that was a state emergency vehicle. So I said to Pete, he has a junkyard. I said, if you ever get something like that, you know, that would work good. So one day he calls me, he says, John, I found something for you. He says, in an auction, come on up and take a look at it this weekend. So I went up, and it was this unit out there, and we went and looked at it. And he thought it was in pretty good shape. So I went back the next week at the auction, and I would have got it a lot cheaper, except 3 kids on motorcycles showed up. And they wanted to make a motorcycle thing out of it. And that cost me a little bit more, but I ended up with it and drove it home. And it was a scary scary thing driving something that big. But it rode well, and I brought it home, and I took it over to my local mechanic, and he worked on it. And it's been a process now since February. Mechanically, it's in good shape. It just needed some checking. It's passed inspection finally. The inside, what made this different than a motorhome, even though it is a motorhome, it never had any inside walls. It's a fiberglass shell. It's like a boat hull turned upside down. And it's a 1973. And that in itself is unique because most of your 1973 motorhomes that have seams in them have started to leak, and the water gets down in the walls, and you don't know it until the wall starts to fall apart, and then it's too late to fix it. So this one, having no seams, it's in pretty good shape. So there was some cabinetry in there that was about this high, and I fought for a month and a half trying to figure out how can I use the cabinets in there for the display, and it just wouldn't work. So then I started to draw what I thought I would want the shelving. And every time I would draw something, it ended up looking like something out of a 7-Eleven store. And that didn't present what I wanted. So a friend of mine owns a junkyard right near my house. And he didn't have any RVs, and then one day I found out that he had 5 of them dropped off in there. Some RV company went bankrupt and it was sold. They got rid of the old junkers. So I went out and saw him, and he told me to pick anything you want out, because he said, I'm just going to cut them apart for the motors. So I went in, I'm taking out some nuts and bolts, and I was looking for a fold-out couch, and I wasn't fast enough for those. They had gone by the time I got there. But way in the back, he had another one that had been hit in the rear end, and there was a crate furniture couch. And you'll see it in there. And I said, well, geez, this will work until I can get a fold-out one. So I brought it home, and I stuck it in the RV, and I said, yeah, it looks pretty nice. And there was a second one in there, but there weren't any cushions. I said, well, I'm going to go back and get that, because maybe I can use the wood for something. Then I got the idea that I'd make all the shelving and everything look like old crates. Now, my thinking was I'd put Hallicrafter on the end of one, National Radio on another one, or something like that. So I started sketching it up, and it started to look like it was going to work. And that's how the furniture came about that's inside the RV. And then my neighbor was selling at the yard sale a crate furniture desk. It wasn't big enough to use, but the ends were right size, so I tore that all apart, and that's part of the furniture outfit. So I utilized almost every piece of that desk in one form or another. Some of the wood, some of the back became an end, and things like that. So now I had the opportunity to really do something, and the theme that I picked was amateur radio before World War II, because I was a ham in 1955. But when I was a kid, but I remember going to all these ham stations that the old timers had, and the old timers then were like 50 years old, which is younger than I am now, but they were old timers to me. And they all had these neat stations with all kinds of equipment, relay racks, all this old equipment, and I just loved it. And that's the kind of stuff that I tried to collect. And I thought that if, with a rolling museum, if I go to a ham fest, which I go to anyway because I'm always looking for stuff first thing in the morning, by the time it slows down and I'm done looking, then I can open it up, and the guys that are newer to ham radio that maybe don't collect, that never saw what old radios are, will be able to go through and get a better appreciation for what some of the ham radio operators did in the 20s and the 30s. For those of you that don't know, during the Depression, there wasn't a lot of money available, and the guys made do. They made their own parts. They scrounged parts from other radios. And the story that my dad told me, that I remember, his very first radio that had a tube in it, he worked 2 weeks. He was in high school. He had a job, and he also had a trap line. He worked 2 weeks to get enough money to buy a single tube. When he put it in and hooked up the battery, he hooked up the battery wrong and burned it out. And that was a big deal for him. That was a lot of work. So it took him 2 more weeks to get another tube, and this time he had his friend come over, who was a ham radio operator, to make sure he had it wired up right. And that didn't work. So, these guys who built things, some of them didn't have a lot of money. They really did a wonderful job with limited resources. And so I'm trying to show some interesting commercial equipment in there and interesting homemade equipment in there. And I ran into a little problem a couple of weeks ago that was unexpected because my neighbor that let me use her barn for storage that I spread out in, and had been for sale for like 9 years and no buyers. All of a sudden, she had a cash buyer that wanted settlement in 2 weeks. Well, I want to tell you, that's not a fun thing to have a phone call like that and say, well, I got the place sold. I said, oh, okay, I'll start looking it up. No, it's going to settlements in 2 weeks. I said, oh, geez. I went out and bought a 28-foot tractor trailer body, put it on my property, hidden in the trees. Hopefully the neighbors won't notice it. And I was trucking stuff back and forth, and I filled it, and I still got about 10 feet under a tarp sitting outside. I put the better things inside. I got Ray Chase to come down and take one of the working, and I got some more tubes for the tube bank. So next month I'll maybe bring some tubes up. But that slowed me down. So the next time you see this at a radio meeting, I'm intending to bring it up in October for our meeting. I should have it filled up, or almost filled up, and have some more pictures up on the walls and things like that. So make sure you, if you see it again, stop in because it'll be different than what you see tonight. I think tonight was maybe 70% done. So I'm going to open it up again after the meeting, and anybody that hasn't seen it, come see it, or if you came earlier, you can come back and see it again. I just want to try to keep it down to maybe like 5 people in at one time because it gets pretty crowded. And please, no food or drink because I got brand new carpet. Thank you.